Yo, it's Guido coming at you with a miserable Monday with a twist. We're going to put our learning hats on today. We're going to talk about how things can be miserable, but what we can learn from them and maybe do better through some of my own mistakes, some of your mistakes, not you particularly as you're looking, but you, teammates out there, and while you're playing the game. We're going to talk about positioning, how important that is. We're going to talk about having a game plan and how bad game plans can suck. Even though you think it's good, it may not be. We are going to talk about RNG and dispersion, how you can mitigate some of that stuff, and how sometimes shit just goes bad. And we're going to talk about, finally, Artie. I know. But mitigation techniques and things that you can do, and why it's the dumbest game mechanic known to man. Oh, sorry. I wasn't supposed to say that. I was supposed to save that. Let's start with positioning. My friends, we are here on Himmels Sand Ribberdorf. This is an encounter. It is a great example, encounter in general, a great example of a map where people want to fast cap. Harder to do in the standard battles. I guess in offense, defense sometimes, kind of depends on the map. But for some reason, especially on encounter maps, it's moths. It's bugs to a flame. People just want to get on cap and let's winner, baby. All right? Look, positioning in this game is massively important. It's probably the first difficult thing that people learn on their way to being a good to great player and above. Learning how to drive, learning how to shoot, learning weak spots, general things like that. Fairly easy, can get you into a moderate amount of success, a little bit of success. Initial positioning is then a little bit harder than the basics, but what I'm talking about is a general overall knowledge of positioning and why it's important on the maps. And an encounter map and what is going to happen here is a great example of how to sort of understand this game in terms of time, positioning, map awareness, and why some plans are dumb from the get-go. All right? We will caveat this by saying that oftentimes a bold, strange plan aggressively executed can come up with a win. I'm talking about percentages, though, and understanding the game and understanding why it is that your one-off goofy plan worked. Not that my one-off goofy plan is great because it worked, but my one-off goofy plan worked because the enemy team made these mistakes, and I understand that it's a low percentage play. All right. We're in a Mutz or a Panzer 58, which is another version of that. Why not have more than one premium tank? If you can sell one, you can certainly sell two types, right? Or three or four or whatever. Watch the green team. Overall, not bad. I prefer, even on encounter on this map, to come up here and win this north and then flow back to the south. Once I'm no longer threatened from being flanked up here, if I've got, especially in a fast tank like a medium or a scout, then I'll flex back down towards the cap. Why does that work here? Well, because if the enemy team is dumb enough to get on the cap, they can be shredded, especially when there's a lot of guns left in the game, and you might notice there's artillery. Okay? I know a lot of you are thinking, well, getting on the cap is dumb, but it is clear to me, it is evident that plenty of people believe it's a great idea. Sometimes it becomes a situation of, I see two jump on, I might as well try myself, or something dumb like that. But let's just watch how this thing develops. All right, green team is moving along. Heavy's down into the pit. Not jazzed about that, not my favorite move, but okay, they're at least over by the cap. They can start fighting, playing the punchy face down in the pit of doom. Not many people down to the south. I like to have a scout or two to at least watch that. The LTTB, I don't know what the hell he's doing. He's lit those guys up. He might as well leave. We're going to get lucky. No, we actually ricochet. We're going to get a shot on him a little while later. It's just me and an AMBT. I don't know what the BZ is doing. He's sort of hanging down there. But you will notice that the purple team has invested a lot of effort up here in the north. So I am already on a defensive foot here, believing that more than likely I'm going to have trouble. Now I'm just going to come up here and put a nice shot right into that. Cool. 283, high roll. I like it. Oh, he's moving forward. I'm going to get another second shot into him. Awesome. Boom. Nope. Armor not hit. Oh boy, I'm kind of messing around here, and unfortunately I don't get out of the way in time. Oh no, it's not quite yet. What I don't know is there's a T-28 out of spot. Yeah, there, I just ate a shot from him. So he's a little bit further out, inside draw range, but outside spotting range. And I eat a big shot. That sucks. Well, fellas, while I was talking, you will notice that we have jumped on the cap. There are not a lot of tanks down there on their defense. You'll see that some of our heavies have pushed forward to screen, but we are attempting to steal, and I will call that steal an early win when we haven't set the conditions. We just haven't, fellas. There's too many guns in the game. They have artillery. Yes, they invested a lot to the north, but you'll notice we also have some Campalama ding-dangs back there. And unfortunately, our campers are not quite as able to support the cap as well as they are. You can do that, but their cap's a little closer, so it's actually a bit of a better spot, to be honest. A little bit better firing angles, stuff like that. But we've invested 3 guys on the cap. Conditions aren't set, guys. Bounce him. He does a nice job angling. So we got a Barask down. We're getting pretty close to winning. It is encounter, though, so let's talk about that. Encounter is a slower cap. I don't want to come up and over and give him a free shot. He sees me. So notice how slow it goes. Yes, 3 makes it go faster, but it is a much longer situation in an encounter map. And that gives the enemy team many more options and opportunities. So 20 seconds, on 18 to get a shot on that guy. Boom. Probably artillery. I don't know what happened right there. I don't see the circle, so it wasn't artillery. Somebody managed to get a shot. Notice the KR went in. And that's what you're going to see, guys. There's too many guns left on their team. In fact, they killed our BZ-176. They're about to wrap up the north. You can expect to be reset if you attempt this when there's this many guns in the game, even if the enemy team just throws away a few hit points to do so. Meanwhile, look at the north. It's about to turn that flank, and then you're in a whole world of crap because you're sitting on the cap with, I don't know how many tanks are down there, to be honest. So it's just a bad idea, fellas. It's a low percentage play. It's more of an emergency thing, to be quite honest. It is certainly not an opening move on this map, and it is one of the things that's very difficult for new players to learn, because it kind of seems like maybe a good idea. Maybe, oh look, they put a lot of guys to the north. All right, decent amount of SA if you notice that. Maybe we can cap this thing out. You can't, guys. There's artillery. They've got a couple scouts in there with enough view range. They're going to spot you. Look at all the guys now that are starting to surround them. Our heavies have pushed up into the pit. They have an overwatch anyway on this map. It's just not happening, fellas. It's just not happening. In fact, if the artillery hits the right spot, even if you're hiding behind that church, he can decap 2 or 3 tanks at once. You know, never mind that you're trying to sneak one in. And at the end of the day, why are you even trying this? What's the point? For 1 W? There's no credits or experience in a fast cap. There's no point to it. First of all, there's no point to it because it's a terribly low percentage play. Second of all, there's no point to it because it's not playing World of Tanks. The conditions that we said, it's a complete misunderstanding of the time and hit point reduction aspect, gun reduction aspect of this game. It basically throws away everything that this game is about for the very slim possibility of a W earlier that is probably, the probability of which is very, very low. All right? We're just going to kind of cruise along here. Come back over here. We're going to find the BZ. He's kind of hanging out here. I want to find this shot. You'll notice that I've fast-forwarded a couple times, but see the whole thing down at the cap? Because they weren't able to sneak that fast cap early, and they basically took the north. Yes, me and the AMBT are kind of there, but they're now just absolutely mauling all the goofballs that were on the cap because they knew where most of them are. Plus, it's a terrible position. Most of your caps are exposed, guys. Most of them are exposed. It's by design. Say what you will about the devs. Part of their game design is that the caps are exposed. It has to be because morons try to do this. Right? If they were easy to defend, it would just be a game of running to the cap and trying to cap. But it's not, because the way the maps are designed generally do not facilitate that. It's a low percentage play. All right, so we're going to shoot him. This is actually pretty funny. I want to try to find this. I get down, I want to say to the last guy here. Going up and over. Yeah, we start taking this dude on. There's only 3 of us left. Really, I'm just in farming mode. We can talk about that for a second. There was no way for me to get down there and try to take all these guys on. We were still fighting the few dudes that were up here to the north. They know exactly where me and the AMBT are. I'm going to try to follow up with him. I don't know. Maybe we can get a little bit lucky. Kill 2 or 3 of them. Get them scared. Bring down some hit points. Sneak a win out of it. I don't know. Probably not. But what I want you to watch here is, this is not a miserable Monday. It is a miserable Monday for the Renagati. As I head up here, watch this. Oh shit. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. He's going to come up over. I'm like, crap, I didn't get out of there soon enough. Boop. So, you know, RNG dispersion does not always hate me. Obviously, we all get those shots every now and again. I'm assuming that went right to his hatch, the tumor, and took him out. You gotta love that. Zinging along here. I don't know if I get any more damage. But anyway, that's the lesson learned here. That's what I wanted to talk about, positioning. It's a difficult thing for new players to learn and understand. But I think that, and while that looks very obvious to most of you, for those of you who are, you know, hey, I want to think outside the box. I want to do new things in the game, or, you know, I'm a tactical genius, whatever. I'm telling you, after long experience and understanding how the game is done, these fast caps, especially on encounter, are dumb. They are. Could be funny on occasion. Maybe you're a platoon and you do something to set the conditions, or you just want to. I noted 100% on that. But in terms of overtime and high percentage plays in this game, it is not. 100% it is not. All right, let's move on to the next thing we're going to talk about, which is RNG. Well, all right, let's talk RNG and dispersion, something we all deal with. It's baked into the game. It's part of the game mechanics. It simulates the idea that not every shot goes directly into the same place. Kind of simulates different fire control systems, how good the gun chassis is, the vehicle that's carrying the gun, how good the equipment is, how good the aiming is, how good the crew is, all that good stuff. So in this game, as you know, then you've got RNG and dispersion. We often use them interchangeably. RNG is a random number generator, and dispersion has to do with a bit of randomness on where the shell goes, which has some RNG in it, but is not exactly just RNG. RNG being plus or minus on things like damage or penetration, and dispersion being on where the bullet goes, or where the shell goes, I guess, not bullet, in the game. So you're going to see me here in the Tier 10 Bliswilliga, and we're going to talk about mitigation on making your shots as accurate as possible. And the first one is things like hand-eye coordination, where you put the pipper, when you click, whether you move the mouse, how good your mouse sensitivity is, how easy it is for you to put the pipper on things, blah, blah, blah. That has a lot to do with it. The brain-hand interface in the game matters. People like to say it doesn't. That's bullshit. Of course it does, but it is mitigated at times based on the mechanics of the game. Because the complaint is obviously, or the reality is, once you click, the hand-eye coordination stops, and it's all about the game deciding where that shell goes. In general, it groups around the middle, as you would with any kind of pattern when you're shooting a weapon, if you've done so, rifle, handgun, whatever. I think those are great examples, though, of how dispersion works, because if you're shooting, whatever position you're shooting from, let's say just standing with a pistol, then what you're doing with that pistol can really change your grouping quite a bit, and that's essentially what's going on in the game. It's a modeling that to some extent based on the way that the Wargaming does its math. So it's all grouped towards the middle on this based on your dispersion, all of your equipment, etc., etc. How do I mitigate that? Well, I mitigate that by allowing the dispersion circle to close in as much as it can for that tank. I also mitigate that by having crew with the right skills. I also mitigate that by having equipment, food, brothers in arms. What else, fellas? Personal reserve, not personal reserves, but the directives, whatever it is that can make my gun more accurate, aim in faster, etc., etc. So those are the things I can do beforehand. In the game, it is mitigated by good hand-eye coordination and allowing my reticle to, or my dispersion circle to zoom in all the way. It was one of the ways we say it, or to close all the way, however you like to think about it. as well as your positioning, your exposure, and how much you're willing to do so. Now, you'll notice as I moved up, I'm going to take a shot, armor not hit. That's unfortunate. Probably went right into the guy's mantlet. I'm sort of going for that hatch, and that's the hand-eye coordination, the knowledge of weak spots, where I'm trying to aim. Although, as you can see, that my Pipper is directly in the middle of his turret. There is some travel time from your shell to the turret right there, but it looks like I probably got into his mantlet. I am not aiming at the hatch right there, which might have been a better plan. What you're trying to do, my friends, is maximize the possibility of you hitting where you're aiming. So I was sort of relying in that case on a kind of random move up and to the left for my shell. Now that one I tried to go right as the hatch went by, but I just missed. It looks like it went in to the ground right there, and that's something you're just going to have to deal with. Be careful in this game about getting frustrated after 4 or 5 of these things. Have a think on it and decide whether continuing on the same path is the way to go, or potentially reposition to get a better shot on somebody else. This guy is obviously hold down, has an idea that his turret is very good, and is managing to make us miss a bunch. Notice the rocking back and forth. That's him mitigating the shots coming back from us. You know, he's just trolling a tier 10. Look, he hit me on that one. You'll notice that he is trying to mitigate a little bit, and there we go. We sneak one into it, and I don't know if necessarily that hatch was exactly right there when I pickled off that shot, but it was close enough, and I got in, it looks like, I think, to the hatch. Maybe I pinned the side of the turret cheek if I've got enough pen right there. That calculus can change if you've just got a superior pen. There are some big TDs that might just shred a T26 E5 turret, but you also notice there's a lot of angles on it. So depending on where that shell actually hits, you might get into an auto ricochet angle. There's a bunch going on right here. He's moving. I'm moving my gun. I'm scooting forward. I'm trying to get fully zoomed. I'm trying to aim the right place. He's trying to rock back and forth in there. All of that stuff comes into the game mechanics on how the dispersion works. And then the shell decides when it hits through RNG, plus or minus penetration, and how much damage it does. In this case, I did 533. With the added complication of the Polish TDs doing extra damage closer. There's a lot going on, fellas. A lot going on. So we missed several shots. That felt good. I want to try to do this again. So we're going to zoom in, and he continues to poke and prod, and I'm like, all right, let's see if we can get him. Nope, he didn't like it. Nope, okay, I'm being careful. I want to go after the hatch, guys. I've decided that's where I want to try to hit him. And we're going to lock this down. Now, what else is going on while I'm futzing around with a tier 8? All right, that felt good. Got him there, too. Got him on that one. Well, the whole game's going on. There's people everywhere else shooting, and I've done a whole 1,000 to a tier 8. I've got a tier 8 who's kind of locking down a tier 10 TD. It would be foolish just to rush forward and try to get shots. I'd get shredded. But you do have to understand that there's opportunity cost in sitting on in a channelized zone right here and locking down a tier 8. On the other side of the map is a tier 8 locking down a tier 10 who's not actively doing anything else. It may or may not be a good idea based on the map and the situation, but you have to understand that that's what is going on right there. And I don't know why he wants me to withdraw, but that's fine. Then he just rams me. That's great. Beautiful. All right, so take an opportunity. I was not fully zoomed right there, so the dispersion works in my favor. I'm able to get that shot in. It was pretty close to fully zoomed. Now I'm a bit worried here, and that is a bummer. Armor not hit. So I either hit a mantlet or a corner of a tank or something, a piece of track, something that did not have a hitbox behind it. I'm going to try to kill this guy if I can, and he dies. All right. I liked the 279 early's push. I'm going to try to follow it up. You notice we built a nice advantage right here, and I'm figuring between he and I, we can just push in and gun these guys down. Gets in my way, although I understand why he's backing out. He's got a 4005 right there. Sort of figured he'd walk in there and take the hit, but unfortunately, and then after that guy shoots, I really expected him to charge, but he backs out. Unfortunate. I feel like we could have got in there and worked him over, but there are a lot of tanks there. There's a grill at E75. There's the 4005. So maybe backing out was the better plan. I'm really hoping to get a cheeky shot on the 4005 coming around the corner and then back around this rock. The problem with this particular position is I am now further down this alleyway, and getting out of it, if I get locked down by somebody, is going to be very difficult. They're making a bit of a comeback. We're back to 5-4, and I decide, you know what, let's get out of this thing. I want to get back to that rock back there. Bad position. I noticed the 4005 is up top, so at least he's not going to come around the corner. Now this guy comes around. That's unfortunate for me. He gets shot. Oh, and I miss. He knows he's going to get another shot. Their grill actually sneaks one in. Fortunately, he hits my track but doesn't get me. I'm like, all right, that'll kill him. Nope. I went right. Notice I was actually aimed a little right, so it kind of went where I meant it to go. Tracks me, but I had a kit, thank goodness. And just pulls forward just in time. Just in time. Could have maybe gone to HE and tried to nuke him right there. I should have done that more than likely. He gives me a couple opportunities to shoot. I miss. He knows I shot. Notice he comes out. The timing of his poke. Progetto 66 dying is good. I really need this T26E5. He's been an absolute thorn in my side right here. 1,677, 106 assist here. I see the Leopard go in. I'm going to follow him up. And it gets kind of funny right here, dispersion-wise. Watch this. And this is one of these things that just happens in this game. Find this guy. I'm like dead to rights. We'll just let it zoom in. I was not quite fully zoomed. I was afraid that little shift there and the angling was going to cause me some issues. I accepted that it wasn't completely fully zoomed in, but it missed. And even fully zoomed in, you'll notice that there was still a lot of daylight around the circle right there. So that's where the shell went. I got nothing out of it. Very painful. He comes forward. Great. We get a bounce. All right. I'll push in. He's probably going to get another shot. Notice he's going for the cover. This guy actually played pretty well for a tier 8 in this game. Same discussion, guys. Happens. Right? There's your dispersion example. Absolutely should have had that guy dead to rights, but there was daylight and the shell went to the daylight. Thank goodness he died right there. I'm really figuring we're going to just wrap around. The complication we have is the 103 there. He's causing issues for sure. I'm like, oh, I can't get this guy. I want to get this E75. Is the grill going to come around? Don't know. I am covered up against the 103, and boom. All right, good. Dispersion worked. Not good. I'm going to take a hit. This is going to suck. I don't want to go too far forward. Thank goodness. So he shot my track. Even if he was going for the lower plate or something, I got into the track, so that worked. But I'm uncovering, unfortunately, if I go any more forward, the 103. So I swing around here, get a little further, and honestly, I thought I was going to have a lot more help. That, in retrospect, that was probably a mistake. That is a bummer. Nicely angled. I did not get to the side of the tank. That's the hand-eye coordination thing, right? I aimed, or I hit where I aimed. Oh, not enough damage. Can I get away? Angling worked. We'll back out. Very lucky. Where's the 75? He's going to come out. Is dispersion going to help me? He does a nice job here. Do I have the pen for the turret? No. Miserable Monday, guys. Miserable Monday. Some key bounces in there. That was a very small sliver. As you can see, I was counting on it hitting right there. I think it went lower left, more than likely on that, or I got a really low pen. You can turn on the last shot or kill cam or thing, whatever it is, if you want to know a little bit more about where your shots are going. I recommend it. I don't bother with it. It's enough to know that I missed or hit something that bounced. All right, last thing. Last but not least, artillery and artillery mitigation. One thing I did not talk about, I kind of wanted to, but I'll just chuck it out there. A lot of you will have seen it. There is a large discussion about shot selection and weak spots and where you're pointing the pipper. It's one thing to put the pipper on something on the tank. It's another thing to put it on the right thing or the correct thing or the thing that will be most likely pinned. There's a lot to it couple of those times, not the most fantastic choice on my part, but that is another part of that discussion on mitigating RNG and dispersion, as well as you're mitigating RNG by going after weak spots or better places to shoot. I.e., somebody comes out around the corner, instead of going for the lower plate, which you know is a weak spot, you go for the side of the tank. Even though it's angled, it's much thinner than even maybe the lower plate, or as a less angle than the front plate does because of his angle right there. There's a lot more to it, but that's another thing that will mitigate your RNG dispersion issues. All right, this time we are going to talk about artillery and how do we mitigate that. The first thing you want to know is that there's artillery in the game. The second thing that you want to know is whether they are now paying attention to you. I'm going to come up over here. I'm going to just absolutely get screwed. Okay, nothing. There's one. Okay, good. Terrible shot selection, by the way. That went right into the side of the tank like I aimed. That, a little bit unlucky, went right, bounced, and out of 4 shots, I get 1 shot of damage in the KV-2. Heavily armored tier 6. Not too bad. All right, well, watch this. I come around here. It's like, okay, he saw me. I don't know. Did he see me? Don't know. Come out here. Watch. He's like, oh, bit. Oh, unlucky. Just snaps one off. Gets me. Fix the engine. And pretty soonly here, as I hang out, so far I haven't been targeted. Uh-oh. Okay. One of the goobers is paying attention to me. What do you do? Generally, I make them prove they're going to continue with it. Probably not the best move at this tier, because more than likely they will, because they reload so quickly. When you get to the higher tiers and you have a longer reload artillery, so there he is. He's proven, the 304 has proven that he wants to shoot me. Sometimes the longer reload will start looking elsewhere, especially if it's a more difficult shot on a backside slope like this. But if you're talking about a 304, a Bishop, these tier 6 kind of tanks, they may sit there and focus you down like this goober. How do you mitigate that? Well, stop being where you are. Hide, go dark. I didn't do that. He may even shoot me once more here. I take a shot. I am using the terrain. You can use some of the terrain. In this case, the terrain. This is dumb. I just come up and over like, oh, kill me. Thank goodness he didn't pick off that shot. Here it comes again. Just another direct hit. Just absolutely fantastic. I've lost nearly every hit point minus the shot from the 3001 to their artillery. All kinds of damage. They do crit. Look at him. The clown is just shooting the same spot. But what you want to do, fellas, in this case, and that's what I'm doing right now, is just go dark and disappear for a while. Unfortunately, I played that poorly to begin with and allowed him to get a couple hits in there. And I'm down a bunch of hit points, and I'm ammo racked right there. I said we would talk about my mistakes as well, and that's one of them. It is problematic in the game to hide from artillery. You don't want to play like artillery is the only thing in the game. But if you're unlucky enough for a clicker who's humping the red line, starts to pay attention to you for whatever reason, your position, your color on his screen because he's running a mod, your name, your clan, whatever the case may be, randomly, probably most often it's just randomly, slash positioning, right? That's the shot he has kind of idea. If you're that unlucky, then you just have to deal with it, and the fix, honestly, is to minimize your exposure to it, and some of that might be go dark and make the clicker go away. They'll get bored. They'll go find something else to do. Of course, the issue there is your gun's no longer in the game, so you're going to have to weigh the pros and cons of that. You might be in such a good position defensively that you can poke, take shots, and protect yourself. This is not really that position. The 304 has a very amazing arc, so it's like a mortar. It comes almost straight down. Physics defying firing. Well, I don't know. Everything is, there's a lot of physics defying in this game, so it's not necessarily that. It's just that the mechanic is idiotic, allowing somebody to sit in the back at virtually no threat to themselves and affect the rest of the game until the end, at which point they're really pretty weak. Wow, there you go. Minimize your exposure. Try to be in the game as much as you can. In this case, don't do what I did. It's a 304. I knew that. I needed to go dark earlier. I would have saved hit points, and actually, I would have got back into the game sooner, right? If I'd have got away, stopped him from seeing me, I was trying to help the Pollack, but he's pretty much done for. If I'd have got away and gone dark earlier, maybe I could have incentivized the clown to go shoot somebody else. But because I kept lighting myself and allowing myself to be seen, he had no incentive to go anywhere else. So he just clicks away, eating his Cheetos and dropping 184, it's 169 and 103 on somebody in the game when he is endangered exactly 0. Fantastic, fantastic game design. Absolutely the best. All right. Is that enough whining? No, it's not. There's not enough whining in the world for how stupid this game mechanic is in this game. But the Chaffee doesn't like this. I put a shot on him. He's like, no, I'm going to go kill this guy. Maybe I can avoid getting hit by artillery. I don't know. Here it comes. Okay, I did avoid it. I am ammo rack. That is a bummer. I might win if I wasn't. I'm like, oh, here comes this dude. Does he want to? He wants to. He absolutely wants to. He's keeping me lit for artillery, too. Smart on his part. I stop. Not smart on my part. Like, no, I can't go too far back. I get shot. Uh-oh. Oh, boy, look out. Here comes this guy. That's unfortunate. Yep, there's the artillery again, but I get away with that one. I think with a faster reload and maybe prioritizing him, but I kind of had to shoot the KV-2, right? I might have beat that guy. It would have been closer. And down I go. Dead to the Super Chaffee. I did enjoy watching the KV-2 blow up to my KV-2. That was well done on that guy's part. And there you go. I wanted to talk about artillery, some of the mitigation of that. There, it's part of the game, so you have to play to it. We can talk about how dumb it is all we want. That doesn't necessarily matter in terms of every day that you sit down and try to play the game. How do you mitigate being focused by Artie? And one of the biggest keys is to be much smarter than I was on that one. Oftentimes your errors and mistakes are some of the most instructive things. I will do that again someday. Maybe in the next 5 minutes, who knows. But hopefully it helps when you guys to think about that next time you're being focused or you're in a position you're like, well, shit, I'm going to have to go dark. Maybe I can make this guy go away. Stop thinking about me for a minute. And at the very least, even if your gun's not in the game, you're not bleeding hit points to a guy in the very back on the red line who has no skin in the game. Try not to give an artillery player or a camper any more hit points than they absolutely earn. That goes along with, which we haven't talked about, pushing into sniper nests and things like that when the rest of the map isn't covered. I think we end up losing this game. Largely to my mistakes right there. I'm just not there to do anything. I don't have any hit points. I allowed artillery to strip off 2/3 of them. All right, fellas. That is all I've got. That was a long, miserable Monday with hopefully a bit of learning for you guys. Perhaps some new stuff, perhaps some relearning. If you're new, I hope that helped you. That is all I've got for today. We will see you.